Welcome back to John Author's Note. The legal battle between hedge funds and Argentina finally looks like it's coming to a boil. After years of expensive and often testy legal arguments over the country's refusal to pay hedge funds that did not join its debt restructuring, the New York courts are soon set to make a final verdict on what is a pivotal case. With me to discuss the court decision and what it means for the markets is Robin Wigglesworth, the FT's capital markets correspondent, who's been following this very closely. So for those of us who haven't been quite so embroiled in this whole affair, could you give a brief recap of what's been going on?
Well, essentially, I mean, as you mentioned, many years ago, Argentina defaulted. It forced a lot of people to join the restructuring, because it gave them a pretty harsh offer. But some people refused, and among them are hedge funds led by Elliott Associates, who we can see here. Paul Singer is a founder of Elliott. If we bring up the first chart, we can see the rollercoaster, what's happened more recently. This is the price of the 2033 bond, one of the restructured bonds that Argentina basically gave all its bondholders when it restructured. Elliott has found a way recently to say, through a clause called pari passu, that Argentina cannot pay these bondholders but not pay Elliott. And as you can see here, from this deep dip there, that's when the court said that, hang on, actually, Elliott has a point.
Well, that's very clever. So what happens next?
Well, right now, the legal arguments are still going on and on. Most recently, Argentina put forward an offer, what it would pay Elliott. Unfortunately, the offer is basically what it offered in 2005 and 2010. The courts are unlikely to accept it, and this is why we've seen another dip back down here again towards the end.
So there's no chance that Elliott is going to accept this offer?
Absolutely no chance whatsoever.
And does that mean that Argentina goes into default then?
It probably does. Right now, I mean, it's still down to legal cases, so it's hard to say definitively. But the judges clearly have taken a dislike to Argentina. They clearly have some sympathy with the arguments of Elliott. And as it stands now, it looks like the courts are basically going to say you cannot pay the restructured bondholders without paying Elliott. Argentina will probably choose not to pay anybody then, and will go into default.
If we look at the second chart here, we can see the chance of, or the market thinks is the chance of Argentinian default. How bad would an Argentinian default be for the country?
Potentially not as bad as it was in 2001. I mean, typically defaults follow when a country goes into a tough economic time, it defaults as a result. Now Argentina economy isn't doing fantastically well, but it wouldn't be triggered by a bad economy, it'd just be triggered by it being basically refusing to pay some debts. So there would be some knock-on effect, but it wouldn't be quite the economic cataclysm that we've seen in some countries that do default.
So what does it mean, what would it mean for the wider markets?
Well, that's the interesting part. I mean, this is a pivotal case, as you said, for sovereign debt restructurings. Some people say Argentina is a unique case. It is so stubborn, it is so bloody minded about not paying these holdouts that it's a unique case that we can file away and forget about. Other people say, well, hang on, actually legal history is being made. There will be a precedent potentially here set by how Elliott manages to use this pari passu clause to get paid. And that, that could be quite interesting for future debt restructurings. So
are embattled European sovereigns worrying about Elliott and worrying about this case?
Yes, I think fair to say every government that ever defaults is a little bit worried about Elliott. I mean, that's part of their calling card, as they were. Argentina, even if they actually lose this case, Argentina's been valuable for Elliott because it's been there sort of on their resume that they are the fund that is so stubborn that they will sue somebody for over a decade to get their money.
So it's great PR for them.
Great PR. I mean, if you look at Greece also had the same problem that Argentina had. Some holdout creditors that refused to join the debt restructuring, of which Elliott were some of them, and rather than go through the Argentinian course, they decided to pay off these holdouts and just make them go away. And that's what most countries do to avoid specifically this kind of problem.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you very much, Robin. Well, some have described this as the trial of the century for sovereign debt restructurings. We'll just have to wait and see if it ends with a bang or with a whimper.